Hello everyone and welcome to the Sky channel. Now in this video we are going to be talking about the best build for the Wind Crossbower class, which essentially goes all the way up until Plume Monarch. And in this video we are going to be talking about the class active skill, the class passive skills, your selectable skills, your pals, your relics, souls, mounts, fruit bonuses you can get, equipment, artifacts, wings, and tech park bonuses. In the end, I'll also talk about how you can save a lot of money on in-game purchases in The Legend of Mushroom. But before we get started, I do want to call upon all of you to utilize the comment section to either share disagreements with the stuff that I'm going to talk about in this video, because perhaps I might have overlooked something, or maybe you tested something out and you felt it was even better than something I've suggested. So share that information with everyone in the comment section. And of course, also use the comment section to let me know if you liked the video. Of course, I will go into a lot of detail, and hopefully everything in this video is going to be something that you'll be like, you know what, this actually makes a lot of sense. So I hope that by the end of this video, you'll be like, I know this class better than anyone else. So I don't need somebody to tell me what to do because I understand it already really well. Now, before we get into the active skill, let's talk a little bit about this class. So this class is all about doing a lot of damage and doing very fast damage. And of course, utilizing the combo ability to ensure that you're doing even more damage. Now, a very obvious question is going to be like, I don't know what combo is. What is it? So I'll let the game answer that combo is a chance for an extra attack every time you do a basic attack. So if you have a 100% combo chance, there's a 100% chance you'll do an extra attack every time you do a basic attack. In other words, you want to maximize the amount of damage you do, and that can be done by ensuring that number one, you're dealing a lot of normal attacks, and with the normal attacks, you're dealing extra attacks due to your combo. And soon, this is all going to start making a lot of sense to you. And you'll start to realize that this is a highly offense-driven class, so you want to try to maximize the amount of damage you do. You want to make sure that, as it says here, the enemy doesn't evade all your attacks, because there's no point of having a lot of damage if the enemy is dodging everything. And of course, attack speed also tends to be very important because, well, you want to do a lot of basic attacks and hence a lot of combos. If this made a little bit of sense, you're already on track to understand this class really well. And as we talk about the active and passive skills, this will make a ton more sense after that. Okay, active skill. So the active skill, when we're talking about the Wind Crossbower, Dual Crossbower, it actually does 3,768% area effect damage, and then increases the combo damage received by targets within the range by 60%. So 60% extra combo damage, which is amazing because, well, your class is all about combo. And of course, it lasts for 5 seconds. Now, when you go into your final evolution, the damage actually increases to 8,478. The duration of the 60% increase in combo damage becomes 8 seconds. And finally, for 10 seconds after releasing this, you actually ignore enemy evasion. So they can't dodge you anymore. Cool, right? So fairly aligned with what you have been told earlier, that it's all about the combo damage and dealing a lot of damage really fast. Next, let's talk about the passive skills, and the first one is combo chance increases by 30%. Of course, as I mentioned before, you want to maximize your combo chances because you want to ensure that you deal that extra attack every time you do release a normal attack. So this is fairly helpful. Next up, you can see that the attack speed goes up by 15%, which means more normal attacks and more combos, of course, and ignoring evasion by 10%. So the enemy can't dodge you as much as they would like. Next one is even better. You're increasing your combo damage. So you are increasing it by 140%. And as you can see in the active skill, you're also increasing it by 60%. And you can see it's stacking up, right? That's a lot of combo damage. And you can already see why this is so important, because you have a reasonably high combo chance and a very high combo damage. Next up, it says that you shoot 2 additional bullets during combos. Now, I'm not entirely sure if that means you're going to do 2 extra normal attacks every time you do a combo, but one thing I am 100% sure about is that it means that each time you release a combo, you're going to be doing a lot of damage. Therefore, you can see how everything is revolving around combo. Let's jump right to the last evolution, Plume Monarch. You can see that actually it increases to 3 bullets during combos, which is quite outstanding. And finally, you can see that it says that you fire 2 bullets during basic attacks, which I'm guessing means that you are doing 2 normal attacks instead of 1, because it should have been 1 bullet per normal attack, but now it's 2. So that's my read of it. I think that makes it quite deadly. You are doing a lot of normal attack damage, and then you're doing combos with that normal attack and a lot of combo damage as well. So I hope the initial part makes a lot of sense. Your whole build is around fast damage, a lot of damage, not missing very often, and of course every time you do that fast basic attack damage, you're also adding combo damage to it, and that combo damage is quite a lot. So the rest of what we're going to talk about is going to be how we can maximize the things that are already looking so good for us to ensure that we have the right cohesive set to do a lot of damage to the enemy. And with that, we're going to jump directly towards our skills. So I'm not going to go ahead and only choose 5 for you. I want to show you how each of them can be fairly helpful so that based on what you have, you can select some good ones. The first two I'm going to talk about are the Nature Renewal and Shroom Shield. Now you probably already know everyone's talking about them, especially early game. Nature's Renewal gives you some health recovery over 5 seconds. Shroom Shield gives you a shield equal to 20% of your maximum health and it lasts for 10 seconds. Both of them help you live longer. I personally like Shroom Shield better, primarily because the first use of Nature's Renewal goes to waste and it has an extremely long countdown time, so by that time the battle is going to be close to over, especially for you. Because you are not highly focused on health and defense, you're all about dealing a lot of damage really fast. Shroom Shield doesn't fail because, well, it's a shield. Even if you have full HP, the shield will still be there and it's going to protect you, so it helps out. Next up, Easy Breezy and Take It Slow. So Easy Breezy reduces enemies' attack, which is helpful for you to live longer, and Take It Slow actually reduces the attack speed of enemies, and well, if they are Plume Monarchs like you, I'm sure they're not going to like this a lot. Coin Bomb is fairly interesting. It actually increases your basic attack damage as well. And of course, all of these skills do damage as well. But essentially, I'm talking about the special attributes. Basic attack damage is interesting because you are going to be doing a lot of basic attacks. So I can see how this can be quite helpful. Next, I'm going to talk about Disarm and Dazzled. And of course, other than doing damage, both of them do something else, which is essentially disarming them for 3 seconds or stunning them for 1.5 seconds, hence allowing you to live a little longer. Smoke Bomb is quite interesting, so if you look at that, besides doing damage, it's increasing the damage received by the targets within the range by 30% for 5 seconds. So this is quite helpful because remember, this is not only talking about basic attack damage, this is talking about all damage received, and it's going up by 30%. So you can see how this is quite outstanding, and hopefully you do have this and you can start using it because it is going to make things much easier for you. Wind Gust is quite interesting as well, a reasonable amount of damage and increasing your attack, hence increasing the amount of damage you do, so this is also quite interesting. Blitz Assault, well, it deals quite a high amount of damage and then it gives you 3 seconds of damage immunity, allowing you to live longer as well. Blade Pierce, it does a reasonably high amount of damage, but the second part says that it makes the enemy lose 1.5% of their max HP per second for 5 seconds. That's 7.5% of their maximum health. If you are fighting somebody with a ton of health, you can probably see how this can be quite helpful for you. Next up, Clone Strike. In my opinion, this is one of the most overpowered skills out there. It actually generates a clone with 30% of your health, it lasts for 10 seconds and deals 200% damage with each basic attack. So it has survivability, it has damage, and guess what? I've heard people say that it actually does combo too. So you're specializing around combo, and well, this amazing skill is also doing it. So you definitely want to try to get this one because, well, there's a huge difference between people who have Clone Strike and people who don't. So try to be part of the people who do. And I'm saying that while it's clearly saying it's locked for me, which means I am part of the group who doesn't have it. But anyhow, you should try to be part of the ones who do. Next up, Windborne Arrow. And does some damage, and then any non-skill damage for 5 seconds is also going to apply an extra 100% damage to the target. Now you're not focused on skill damage anyway. You have basic attack and combos, which are not skill damage. So this is going to help you a lot because you're going to add a lot of extra damage to the enemy for those 5 seconds. Finally, Whirly Snare. Now here's the interesting thing I didn't mention before. You're doing a lot of damage, you're doing a lot of combo damage, and you're all about dealing a ton of damage. What can make that damage even higher? Well, crit rate. Because criticals actually increase the damage by a lot. So if you are such a high damage dealer, imagine if you're hitting crits very often, that's a lot of extra damage. And that's why you shouldn't miss out on increasing your criticals whenever you get the chance. So this skill, Whirly Snare, deals a decent amount of damage and then increases your crit rate by 10%. And then for every 1% crit rate that you have, you get an extra 3% critical damage. So the more critical rate you have, the more the critical damage you're going to get, and lasts for 5 seconds. So this definitely seems to be an extremely important skill for your class because you want to maximize the damage, and few things can maximize it more than hitting criticals every now and then. That completes the discussion about our skills. Let's go and talk about pals. I'm going to start with the best one, and that is the Pirate Octopus. So of course it's a pink pal, so it means it has a pretty high damage multiplier and attack speed. But if you look at the deploy effect, increases combo damage by 60%, and with every 3 combos, deal an extra 200% damage. As you can see, this is quite amazing, right? Combo damage going up by 60% and then doing extra damage every time you do 3 combos. It is definitely made for this class. So if you don't have the Pirate Octopus, try to prioritize getting the Pirate Octopus somehow, because it will make a huge difference to your class. The next one that I also consider essential for this class is the Righteous Banana. And if you look at the deploy effect, a 10% increase in your combo chance and a 100% increase in your combo damage. As you can imagine, built for your class, you're all about dealing a lot of damage using combos, so both the Octopus and the Banana are pretty much meant for you. Now the Treasure Dragon, what it does is it increases basic attack critical damage by 50% and skill critical rate by 20%. Now the basic attack critical damage is obviously something that you are going to be more interested in because you do a lot of basic attacks. This becomes even more helpful if you have a very high critical chance, right? Because the more criticals you do, the more benefit you get from doing extra critical damage. Next up, the Hero Bird. And if you look at the deploy effect, it increases your attack speed by 15%. And as I talked about before, the more attack speed you have, the more basic attacks you're going to do, and therefore the more combos you're going to do, and therefore the more damage you're going to do. So you can see for your class, attack speed is very important. Hence the Hero Bird brings in a lot of value to your team. The Chicken Hood is also very important because it increases your basic attack damage by 30%. And as you can imagine, you do a lot of basic attacks, so this is quite helpful as well. Cowboy Cactus. Essentially what it does is that every 3 basic attacks deal an extra 40% damage, and since you do a lot of basic attacks, the extra damage can pile up and it can end up being a lot, which makes this Cowboy Cactus fairly interesting for your class as well. Now the Hydra Sprite is quite interesting as well because it reduces the cooldown of your skills, and of course the better your skills are, the more useful this becomes. So it's a pretty nice pal to have for all classes as it allows you to use skills more often. The Benny Rabbit is another interesting one. It increases your critical rate by 5%, and as we covered before, critical rate is important as it can help you do a lot more damage. And also Benny's attack have a 30% chance to launch targets for half a second, allowing you to live a little bit longer because of that. Now we covered the ones that have the most synergy with your class. Of course, it doesn't mean that the others are bad. For example, there's the Wealthy Lizard, which increases your pal damage by 40%, and the Hipster Tortoise, when your health goes below 50%, it gives you a shield equal to 30% of your max HP, which is essentially a stronger shield than you get from Shroom Shield, which is a skill that we talked about earlier, so this can be helpful as well. Okay, that covers our pals, and we are good to start on the relics. Okay, when you talk about the green relics, you want to focus on the Arrow King mask because that gives you an extra 10% chance to do combos, and combos are what your bread and butter is, so definitely choose this relic as your mask. When it comes to the blue relics, it's dependent on which pals you choose. For example, this one gives you an extra damage for your chicken pals, which is fairly helpful. And this one, if you have a dragon, turtle or lizard, it actually gives a 20% chance to deal damage equal to 0.5% if they're on maximum HP, which is another pretty helpful one. The only one that doesn't seem to be really linked to a pal is this one, the Thundercaller Kite, which actually does 309% damage after using your active skills. When you go to the purple relics, the one that I would probably choose would be the Metamorphic Crystal because you should definitely have the Octopus Pal in your unit, and this increases the attack speed of that pal by 6.68%. When you talk about the tombs, the Stone Red Tomb is pretty interesting. It actually increases your survivability by giving you damage resistance to a bunch of different things, including basic attack, pal damage, counter damage, combo damage, and skill damage. So it's pretty helpful. The other one that I would probably say would be the Flame Book because it increases your attack by 1% per second, up to 10% at 10 seconds. And of course, you all know how important attack is. The only thing is you are getting it over time, and 10 seconds is a lot of time, and sometimes 10 seconds might be a little too late. So you have to see which one is working better for your build and choose that one. When we go to the orange relics, I'd probably say this one is the most interesting because it increases the effect duration of Disarm, Dazzled, and Smoke Bomb by 50%, and you probably have a few of them, or at least you have the Smoke Bomb, which actually increases the damage the enemies take by 30%, so increasing that duration by 50% is definitely helpful. Finally, when you go to the red relics, of course the Storm Necklace is going to be the most overpowered one because it's linked to your clone. And as we talked about earlier, clones actually do combo damage as well, so increasing their damage by 30% is definitely a must-have. Now let's talk about souls. And of course, it should be no surprise that the combo damage soul is definitely a must-have for your build. 337.5% combo damage is amazing, and of course, it is aligned with your build, so you should try to get this as soon as possible. Red souls also have the ability to fuse with other red souls, and in the case of combo damage, it fuses with the boss damage soul. And of course, having an extra boss damage to help out along with the combo damage is definitely useful. The basic attack damage soul is also quite useful. As you can imagine, you do a lot of basic attacks, so increasing that damage by as much as possible is definitely worth investing into. It actually fuses with the skill damage soul, which is another helpful one, so this can be a particularly useful soul to try to get as soon as possible. Critical damage soul is another helpful one because, as we talked about before, the more you crit, the more damage you're going to do to the enemy, and well, this is increasing that critical damage, so it is quite helpful when you want to unleash a lot of damage on the enemy. It fuses with the skill critical damage, which is also quite helpful, so this is another really good soul. Finally, of course, the attack bonus soul is also quite helpful because it increases your damage, and that's exactly what you are focusing on. Okay, let's start talking about our mounts. Now, mounts give a huge boost in health, attack, and defense, and of course, it also gives you extra evasion as you continue to unlock additional tiers. This, of course, by itself is extremely helpful. But as you go to the other tab, you see the ability to empower your mounts, which can give you either basic attack damage, pal damage, or skill damage, and hence make you even stronger. Of these three, I would say the basic attack damage would probably be the best one if you're able to get it. And if you move over to the advanced tab, you'll notice that there are advanced mounts that you can get. The first one is the Firebreaker. It's quite interesting for your build as well. It happens to be the cheapest to get because you only need 10 Skyrider passes to unlock it. It gives you an additional 10% chance to ignore evasion, which is quite helpful for you because you don't want to be having enemies dodging you. But if you look up there, it actually has extra mount skills. And what it does is that increases your crit rate by 1% and crit damage by 5% per second. After 20 seconds, you're looking at 20% additional crit chance and 100% additional crit damage. The only problem? Well, 20 seconds is a pretty long amount of time. Then let's move over to the White Tiger. Additional basic attack damage of 10%, which is definitely very helpful for your build. And if you look at the scale, if you're attacking somebody with less health than you, you're doing 15% extra damage to them, which is obviously amazing. If you have less HP than your opponent, then the opponent's attack is going to be reduced by 10%, helping you live a little longer. So you can see how the White Tiger has all of your bases covered. That being said, the best mount for this class is definitely the Koi Paper Kite. Now it's giving you an extra 10% global attack, which is definitely helpful because you want to increase your attack and your damage. But if you look at the extra mount skill, every time you trigger 3 combos, you actually deal 500% extra area effect damage to your enemies. This is obviously very helpful because you should be doing a lot of combos, and 500% area effect damage is fairly high. So if possible, you should be trying to get this mount to help you go much further. Now, when we talk about the fruit bonuses, you of course want to try to get as much of global combo damage as possible. Maybe roll all 5 of that and melt through your enemies' defenses with a lot of combo damage. Other than that, you can also consider investing into crit or attack because both of them are also useful for your build. I personally feel that the global combo damage might probably be the best one for you to try to invest in. Okay, let's talk about your gear. Now, you of course want to try to get rainbow gear whenever possible, but remember that your real focus, especially as you move over to the end game, should be more on the extra attributes you get. Now, for your class, the best 2 attributes in my opinion are combo and crit rate. The reason is fairly obvious. You want to have a really high chance of releasing combos after every normal attack, and of course you want to have a very high chance that the attacks you do are going to crit. And gear is a really nice way for you to maximize your combo chance and crit chance, making this one of the best places for you to get these attributes that you're really looking for. And since each gear comes with 2 attributes, you can actually try to get both of the attributes in each of your gear, and hence helping you maximize on these 2 stats as much as possible. Other than those 2, you could also try to get a little bit more evasion to help you live longer. That being said, of course, you are a very offense-driven class, so trying to live much longer is probably a lower priority than doing a lot of damage, which is what you're getting from critical chance and combo chance. Next up, let's talk about artifacts. And artifacts are really amazing for your class. Not only do they give you amazing HP, attack, and defense bonuses like mounts do, but their special ability is that they help you ignore evasion. Now, if you remember when we were talking about the class earlier, one of the focuses of your class is to ignore evasion, because there's no point in doing so much damage if the enemy is dodging all of that damage. So try to maximize your artifact, level it up as much as possible. If you aren't sure how to get a lot of hammers, watch the video that I've made on leveling up fast using rush events, which teaches you how to maximize getting a lot of these hammers. I can put a card up in this video so that you can click it directly and open it up in a new tab, or you can just go through our channel and find that video. Other than that, you can actually upgrade your mounts and give them special attributes. For example, this hammer is a really nice one as well. It's giving you an extra 10% global basic attack damage, which, as we've covered before, is amazing. But also, basic attacks and combos deal an additional 30% area effect damage. Wow. So a 30% extra damage, which is area effect, with each of your basic attacks and combos. This seems to be an amazing artifact for your class. But the Candy Gatling isn't that far behind either. So if you look at that, 10% extra global attack, which is amazing too. And then it says that basic attacks, combos, and counters actually unleash an additional 1 to 5 bullets, and each of them does 10% of your current basic attack damage, which basically means that you're getting an extra 10 to 50% basic attack damage with each of your basic attacks and your combos. As you can imagine, also a very interesting artifact. The third one is also okay, but I feel like it probably doesn't come up to par with the other 2, and I'll share my logic with you. It's giving you 10% global attack damage. It does a very high amount of damage, so 1000% every 11 seconds, and then it confuses targets such that their own attacks, like their basic attacks, combos, and counter strikes and skills, deal 20% of their current basic attack damage to themselves, and it lasts for 5 seconds. Now, my problem with this is that your basic attack damage is hopefully going to be higher than their basic attack damage, right? And the other thing is your attack speed is likely higher than theirs as well. So I would probably be more confident in having the first 2, which are reliant on your attack speed and your basic attack damage, rather than this one, which is relying on theirs. Okay, so they recently introduced back accessories, and here you can see there's a tail and then there's wings that you actually get from the morph tab, which we'll cover in a bit. But essentially from this you can get a bunch of attack, health, and defense. Of course, for you, attack is probably the most important one. Now, when you go into the talent pool, you'll notice that you start at archery because you are an archer. And if you go take a look, the top portion is highly focused on your defense and survivability, which is good, but not the best thing for you in my opinion. The left side has a little bit of a mix of both. It does have health, it also has attack, and it actually gives you basic attack damage, which is helpful for you. It gives you the ability to ignore evasion, which is also great. And if you look here, it actually increases your critical damage, which is good for you as well. And of course, here there's healing and scale damage resistance, so a little bit of a mix. But if you go to the right one, and this is my favorite one because it has a lot of different things that you can benefit from greatly. For example, additional combo damage. Now you know how important combo damage is, so definitely worth getting this. You also get the ignore evasion, similar to the one on the left stream. And over here, you can see that you are increasing your combo damage even further. So in my opinion, the right side is probably the best one to focus on. Now, if you go to the morph tab, you actually see the wings. And in my opinion, this wing is probably the best one because it increases your combo damage by a reasonable amount. It also gives you health, which is definitely useful. Next, you should definitely not overlook the tech perk because it has amazing bonuses of attack, defense, and health that you can get through it. Of course, your priority should be maximizing your attack as much as possible because you are a very offense-driven class, and health and defense are more defensive stats. The best way to go about this would be to save up your ore and use it during the Tech Rush event, which is another one of the rush events that we cover in our rush video, so do check that out if you are interested. I do want to mention something. I've been highly focused on attack and offensive stats throughout the video, but that doesn't mean that you should completely ignore your health and defense. So do keep that in mind if you are extremely focused on attack, but if you're not able to last long enough to do those attacks, then perhaps you need to start focusing a little bit on your health. So the way it works is you shouldn't only have a focus on one thing, you should also be focusing a little bit on your survivability because you do want to live long enough to deal the damage that you have been focusing on. Finally, since I still have you here, I do want you to know that you can get between 10 to 35% bonuses on in-game purchases in the Legend of Mushroom. The process is quite simple and I've linked a very detailed video going through that process with you if you are interested. Do note that we do have bonus days on Aptoide as well, giving you an additional bonus from your base. So for example, on April 12th and April 26th, you'll get an extra 5% bonus, which means that your base is not going to be 10%, it's going to be 15%. If you prefer to have a longer discussion, join our Discord and ask me any questions that you have about Aptoide there, and I can guide you through the process. And that wraps up this video. I hope you found this video interesting and you learned something from it. If you did, do let me know in the comments below. I'd really appreciate that. If you want to watch a similar video on Warbringer that's already on our channel, do check that out as well. And of course, I'm planning on making other classes for you very soon. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please like it. Please subscribe to our channel, check out our other videos, and I hope to see you again in the next one.